3,000 years ago, the Kingdom of Israel reached its absolute peak, defined by an era of immense wealth and internal stability. King Solomon had inherited a secure throne, and his reputation for wisdom drew visitors from across the ancient world. Solomon's lasting legacy is fixed in stone and gold, a massive temple built to be the spiritual anchor for all of Jerusalem. This construction project dominated his 40-year reign, consuming vast resources and years of labor. When the structure was finally complete, the ancient records describe a moment of terrifying wonder, a cloud of divine glory descending from the sky and filling the sanctuary so completely that the priests were forced to stop their work. This temple functioned as the primary center of Israel's identity. As long as God's presence rested within these walls, the nation felt physically and spiritually untouchable. God establishes a rule for Solomon's descendants: immediate action and reaction. The Hebrew word is darash, to actively seek. If a king seeks God, the nation receives instant victory and wealth. But if he forsakes that connection, the pendulum swings back, triggering catastrophic disaster. The system is tested almost immediately. After Solomon's death, a political blunder splits the nation in two, leaving the southern kingdom of Judah to stand alone. From this point forward, Judah's survival swings wildly back and forth, dictated entirely by whether its kings choose to seek or forsake their God in the present moment. Some kings leaned into the rule of Darash. Leaders like Asa, Hezekiah, and Josiah aggressively purged the land, and the idols that had led the people astray were shattered and burned. Their choice to seek God resulted in a rapid influx of wealth, fortified cities, and decades of national peace. King Jehoshaphat faced the ultimate test of the pendulum when a massive coalition of foreign armies marched toward Jerusalem, vastly outnumbering his own. He trusted the rules so deeply that he sent a choir of singers to the front lines instead of soldiers. By the time they reached the battlefield, the enemy armies had turned on each other, leaving the field in total chaos. To these kings, seeking God functioned as an infallible military and economic strategy, more reliable than any earthly alliance. But other rulers swung the pendulum in the opposite direction, abandoning the covenant for the pursuit of local power. King Jehoram secured his succession by murdering all 6 of his brothers. His retribution arrived almost immediately in the form of an agonizing, incurable plague that destroyed his health. Decades later, King Ahaz reached a new low. He participated in child sacrifice and physically padlocked the doors of the temple shut to prevent anyone from seeking God. The consequences were instant. Judah's armies were slaughtered, foreign invaders seized the borders, and the nation fell into a state of total misery. The punishment wasn't delayed for a future generation. It was an instant and brutal reality for the king and the people who turned away. Then came King Manasseh. His atrocities were so extreme that he seemingly pushed Judah beyond the point of no return. The Assyrian army breached his defenses, pierced him with hooks, and dragged him away in heavy iron chains. He was taken to a dungeon in Babylon, a city defined by its massive walls and the absolute power of its foreign gods. But while sitting in that prison, Manasseh genuinely humbled himself and actively sought the God his father had worshipped. In a staggering reversal, God honored the rule of Darash. Manasseh was forgiven and physically restored to his throne in Jerusalem. The rule is absolute. No one is ever too far gone. Restoration remains possible for anyone who chooses to seek God in the present moment. Eventually, the pendulum stops. After centuries of warnings, the leadership and people persistently mock the messengers and abandon the covenant for the final time. The final retribution arrives when King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon invades Judah with overwhelming force. The result was the unthinkable, the total destruction of Solomon's temple and the burning of Jerusalem. The survivors were ripped from their homeland and dragged into forced exile in a foreign land. To the Israelites, this appeared to be the definitive end of their history and a permanent failure of their relationship with God. But the book of 2 Chronicles doesn't end with a period. In the original Hebrew, the narrative literally ends mid-sentence, leaving the door standing open. 70 years later, the geopolitical landscape shifts. The new ruler of the world, King Cyrus of Persia, issues an unexpected decree. Cyrus declares the exiles free to return home and rebuild their temple. This historical artifact records the moment the pendulum swung back toward hope. The chronicler wrote this epic history for a community living in fear, exiles who believed they were permanently doomed by the sins of their ancestors. The chronicler demonstrates that God deals with every generation in the present. This history proves that survival isn't dictated by the past. If you choose to seek Him today, your restoration begins immediately.